Cara gente, buonasera e benvenuti in questa nuova live. Buonasera. In questa sera con cui avremo una doppia live, cari. Vi ricordo che adesso ci stiamo vedendo per guardare un po' insieme degli annunci. Partiranno alle 8:30, quindi appunto ci vediamo con qualche minuto d'anticipo per fare due chiacchierelle. E poi una volta guardati insieme questi annunci, magari discussi un attimo, se magari facciamo il nostro solito salto su Warhammer Community, che magari c'è qualche immagine in più, qualche informazione comunque per noi magari interessante. Ehm, E poi alle 22, vediamo se c'è da anticipare in base a quanto magari c'è da dire, ma per adesso restiamo sulle 22. Partiremo invece con un'altra live separata, con qualche minutino di pausa. Partiremo con l'Alpha di Dark Heresy in italiano. Cari, grazie mille ovviamente per le resub, grazie Ernesto per il Prime per il 14esimo, grazie Nino per il Prime per il 27esimo, grazie, 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 grazie. Grazie, grazie, grazie. Buonasera, oggi ci aspetta qualche reaction al buon Morte Bianca. Innanzitutto non è buon e no, spero ovviamente di non dover più farne nella vita, quindi, quindi sto molto bene senza. Grazie anche a te Ivana per il Prime per il terzo, grazie mille, grazie mille. Lorenzo Mago, un doppio benvenuto a te, dato che vedo che è il tuo primo messaggio nella chat. Grande, doppio benvenuto. Cari, 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 cari. Tutti qua, sì, 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 infatti. Ci sono gli annunci, raga, ci sono gli annunci riuniscono. Allora. Allora, noi sappiamo tanto che stasera sicuramente vedremo dei Custodes, perché il teaser parlava delle Golden Banana, delle banane dorate, e si sa che per chi abbia mai visto un paio di meme di Warhammer 40.000, le banane dorate sono proprio il classico nome parodistico dato, possibile anche delle, assolutamente, assolutamente. Se ci sono dei nuovi modelli, immagino comunque che a sto punto ste benedette teste femminili, tanto quello cambia, le mettano. Tanto letteralmente quello cambia, non è che sono diverse per qualsiasi altro dettaglio, quindi presumo che andò abbastanza per scontato che delle teste femminili ci saranno. In ogni caso, appunto, sicuramente vedremo dei modelli della Legio Custodes, proprio perché si sapeva già che sarebbero dovuti arrivare dei modelli dei Custodes in Horus Heresy, perché avrebbero rifatto la gamma esattamente come stanno facendo con il Mechanicum. Non so poi quanti di questi kit saranno poi compatibili anche con il 40.000, immagino che qualcuno comunque, anche solo puramente dal punto di vista modellistico, sarà compatibile, quindi vedremo. Ehm, E, 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 ehm, dovremmo avere per Age of Sigmar gli Ossiarchi, credo, perché anche quello, il teaser, come discutavamo tra l'altro un attimino ieri sera durante la serata di Blueprints con Meme, che effettivamente il piatto di ossa luminescenti, praticamente penso punti solamente, con anche il commento di buone da morire, puntava letteralmente solo verso gli Ossiarchi. Ci sarà qualcosa di Blood Bowl, qualcuno di voi, conoscendo meglio di me Blood Bowl e avendo qualche informazione giustamente ehm, eh, quali team mancano, effettivamente. Cioè, avete detto gli alti elfi, ci sta, vediamo. Cos'altro? Dovrebbero mostrare sicuramente qualcosa di nuovo per la squadra comando di Huron. Ehm, io credo a sto punto che potrebbero mostrare il nuovo modello di Iriel, dato che comunque c'era stato il racconto, quindi nel teaser anche lì c'erano pirati e orecchie a punta. Niente di Warcry, onestamente con tante care cose presumo che Warcry onestamente sia morto. Non credo onestamente che lo aggiorneranno Warcry, cioè, a meno che non ci facciano proprio giusto penso qualche PDF gratuito, io non credo che sia un gioco ormai più supportato. Perché ormai l'attenzione si è spostata su Spearhead, quindi... Sono uscite le silhouette. Sono uscite le silhouette. Aspetta, no. Guarda qua. Qua c'è un Eldar. Qua c'è un Eldar. Ah beh, sì. Magari sarà gente che accompagna Iriel, presumibilmente. Eh, Aspetta. Dimmi che... No. Io spero vivamente che questo sia il modello... Perché Iriel comunque è di Yanden. È di Yanden. Quindi se fosse Yanna Arienal... Meno male onestamente che non c'è un altro primarca. Basta, non ne posso più. Più che altro non le ha lista. Sto molto bene senza un altro primarca alle lista per un bel po' di tempo. Te ne prego. Ah sì, beh, effettivamente questo sa tanto di... Sì, 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 va palese elmo alti elfi, quindi... Dico, faccio solo un po' di avanti e indietro perché non tolgo il volume perché purtroppo hanno sempre una musica protetta da copyright nei pre-live. Quindi... Ah, intanto, tra l'altro, Zafran, grazie mille per il Prime per il secondo mese. Andrezzo, grazie mille per il Prime livello 1. Grazie mille. Qua c'è il tizio che fa parte del seguito di Uron, che non so esattamente cosa sia, perché non si era ben capito, ma vedremo. Carro, a sto punto potrebbe essere un carro dei Custodes? Possibile?
New
Vabbè.
Year Warhammer preview. I'm Adam Troke. I'm joined by my friend and colleague Eddie Eccles, and we are delighted to welcome you all here.
Yeah, we've got some very cool
Partiamo,
Warhammer reveals
partiamo.
for you on the way in this preview.
Ora lo
We have some
vedremo.
Warhammer 40,000, some Warhammer Age of Sigmar, a little bit of Horus Heresy, some new animation to have a look at, and some Blood Bowl. So it is a packed preview with a little bit of something from every corner of Warhammer.
Sì,
Fantastic.
sono
We're
contento
joined
solo
by
se il
loads of you
prossimo
already in
primarca
the
della
chat
lista è
on both
giocata ai
YouTube
can. Se è
and on
giocata ai
Twitch.
can sono
Thank you for
contento,
coming
se
and spending
chiunque
some time with
altro
us.
noia.
We're going to wait a while before we jump into the first preview so that people can continue to flood in. And it's always nice to do a little bit of, welcoming and greeting everybody. It's nice to know where you're all from. So if you wouldn't mind just punching into the chat if you're in Twitch, we'll be following along. We got some people monitoring the questions and making sure that Eddie and I get fed the right information. So let us know where you're tuning in from. While you do that, maybe we can talk about what we've been doing hobby-wise.
You've been doing some hobby, Adam?
I have been doing some hobby. Here is my latest offerings.
No,
I've been
sono
doing
appena
an
apparsi, sono appena
Angels
apparsi
of
a
Death
schermo,
kill
raga,
team
quindi non vi siete
for kill
persi
team. And I've
assolutamente
dark angels
niente.
them up. You can see there because they come in blue
Sono appena
plastic.
giunti.
And I've been adding bits from my pretty extensive Dark
Very
Angels
nice.
bits box.
They look lovely.
Yeah, they're all right. They're a bit more advanced. They're all undercoated, and a couple of them are base coated.
Oh, show off.
Well, yeah, I've not played as
Adesso
much
stanno
as I
semplicemente
like, and this is
discutendo
why I'm able to get,
delle
properly into
feste
it.
appena
Well,
passate,
game,
sta
you've got them
mostrando un
already.
po' di
Yeah, man,
progetto
beat me up, but
hobbistico.
fine.
Yeah, we'll have fun. We'll be fun times.
That's the main thing, right? What about you, Eddie?
Well, I've been painting an even better chapter, the Space Wolves.
Top two, I'd give you that.
Wow. And I've just been
Belli,
painting
io,
dreadnoughts,
io
basically.
adoro,
Just
non so, io
big
ho questo
dreadnoughts, little
fetish,
dreadnoughts, all the
raga,
dreadnoughts I could find.
per
these for anything?
They are for a
gente
team
che
event, for
modella
Warhammer 40,000, and my
dreadnought
contribution to
che
the
in
team is just
mano
loads of
hanno
dreadnoughts.
cose,
And why
che
this
siano
is
armi,
brand
che siano
Redmores?
They are
strumenti,
brand
non lo
Redmores,
so,
yeah. So I picked the angriest
un-
Space Wolves I could find for my great company.
Oh, perfect. It'd be nice to just get a sense of where you're all tuning in from. We're seeing we've got people tuning in from Spain and France, a bunch from the US, so welcome. Loads of people from the UK, and even here in Nottingham. And a couple, it seems, as far-flung as the upside-down lands of Australia. So well done for Iron Manning it and staying up all night. That's good. Really lovely to have you all here. If you are tuning in from far-flung places and you want to join in the conversation
No,
online,
io è una cosa che adoro. Io il fatto che ci siano mani,
social
tipo
media
mani
teams, you see them here for Facebook and
nei
Instagram.
Dreadnought,
Why not
no,
drop
io
onto
amo,
those handles
sempre
and
amato.
join in the
Infatti
conversation
io
in your own
amo
language if you like.
fin da anni e anni,
One
fin
of the
dal
things that we'll be
principio,
doing, I
il
mentioned
vecchio
previously, is
Dreadnought
we'll be
venerabile in
keeping an eye on
metallo
Twitch
che
stream.
aveva la mano.
If you want to ask a question,
No,
type the
no,
word
per me è
question in
proprio
block caps and then write your question afterwards, and
paradiso.
we'll try and filter through and cover some questions about the things that we're showing to make sure that you get the answers that you need.
Yeah, we'll try and
Sempre
tell you all the
modalità
important stuff, but there might
boscaioli.
be some things that you really
Giustamente,
want
io
to know.
adoro le loro
If anything
camicie.
like that, pop them in the
Yeah, I
questions.
would suggest keeping it about the releases.
Oh yeah, not just generally,
don't
not just like,
mad stuff,
how big is a blue whale, that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Soprattutto
Specifically about Warhammer.
Yeah, there's only so
questa,
much
il
time in the world,
motivo
right? We
bianco,
reckon we'll be here
nero
probably
con
for the
le
next
linee
hour
rosse,
and a
adoro.
quarter or
Something
so.
like
It
that,
just
yeah.
depends how fast we talk. and how much stuff there is to show, and there is a lot.
Dipende, la voglio anch'io.
We've already told people what we're going to show. We've already done the introductions. People know how to ask questions. I think it might be time to go to our first reveal. Let's go to the grim darkness of the Dark Millennium.
Ah, guarda, guarda. Ma un tarelliano, alla fine. È un tarelliano. Ma che bello. Ah, no, no, no. È dei Corsari comunque, non è Ianna di Anno. Arset. Nuovo veicolo Starfang. Ok. Cazzo. Ah, proprio spapapam.
What a way to kick off the preview show with incredible releases all themed around
Appena arrivato, Trino, è proprio appena iniziato.
This is a fairly sizable release.
Urca bestia, abbiamo iniziato già con una cannonata in faccia.
Chaos Space Marines and the forces of the Eldari. If we start on the diabolically heretical side of things, this is Huron Blackheart and the Masters of the Maelstrom. We knew, of course, that Huron Blackheart was on his way. We suspected there might have been some other
un paio di personaggi li hanno chiaramente presi dal romanzo che ha scritto Mike Brooks di Huron. Non so se ha lui prima scritto i personaggi e allora poi hanno deciso di farli, di realizzarli modellisticamente, o se il contrario, se magari prevedevano già di farli e quindi avevano dato anticipatamente le informazioni a Mike Brooks per scrivere quei personaggi. Non lo so, magari un giorno ce lo diranno, non ho idea. Però figo. Mi piace un botto che quello sia un tarelliano. Che figo, finalmente vediamo come cazzo sono fatti davvero. Almeno a me sembra un tarelliano a estetica, poi magari adesso dicono no, in realtà è questo xeno strano che non abbiamo mai nominato, però a me pareva. Ma Garreon l'avevamo già visto. Tra l'altro oggi vi dicevo che c'è questa incredibile coincidenza che Garreon è un personaggio che vedrete all'interno del secondo romanzo dei Night Lords e proprio adesso ci fanno un modello.
In games, obviously, he is kind of not really got the best interest at heart of the Red Corsairs that he battles alongside. You can see a Red Corsair on the base there, probably
clutching the apron awkwardly.
Yeah, he's not going to get the medical attention that
no, in realtà è perfetto tra l'altro che abbiano messo un corsaro sulla basetta, perché letteralmente Garreon è un personaggio che di caratterizzazione è famoso perché fondamentalmente utilizza i suoi stessi confratelli come cavie, quindi è proprio perfetto che lui abbia un suo confratello sulla basetta, che è vivo ed è lì che lo tiene a terra per...
Next up in line is Qatar Garrix, who is
è appunto Qatar Garrix, ma come anche Sargotta, l'alta, la Luna Startes, l'umana sulla quella piccola piattaforma. Lei è un ex ufficiale della Marina.
He signed on permanently with Huron Blackheart after the events of that.
Fabius Bain a basso profilo, esatto.
A warning to any Red Corsairs that might want to step out of line. His presence on the bridge of a vessel will quell
lui mi piace meno.
Smallest rumor of like insurrection.
Lo trovo un po' più piatto. Cioè sì, ok, testi ovunque, però lo trovo un po' meno ispirato.
In game terms, no massive surprises that he is very good at killing enemy characters. He has precision and anti-character on his weapons, which is pretty cool.
Nice. And he just looks incredible, really grim and foreboding character. And yeah, enough heads.
No, Kill Team non era nella lista.
Next up in this retinue, and if you had Mantis
Garlon, ragazzi, sono andati a ripescare Garlon. Garlon è tipo apparso una volta in un racconto di tipo 20 anni fa. Sono andati a ripescare Garlon.
To sort of
bravi,
corrupt the minds of those around him. There's stories of him sort of turning the crews of like gun decks against their allies and like firing salvos at supposedly.
Lui appare nello stesso racconto in cui appariva un ultramarine corrotto da Korn dei appunto dei Corsairs.
He's also got a really cool helmet, and the rumor is he hasn't taken it off for more than a decade, and maybe he's hideously mutated underneath.
Could be. He's got
Sì,
some really
lui mi
tasty
piace.
rules in Warhammer
Mi piace
40,000
anche
as well.
tantissimo che
He
il
has a
bastone
precision
utilizzi
psychic attack
l'icona
with
della
D6
banda
+1
per essere quasi come
muzzles.
stesse
Basically pick
prendendo
out enemy
il cerchio
characters in units
il
and
cerchio che
just
corona
take
tutto.
them out,
Molto
basically
figo.
mind wrench them out of reality.
Fantastic. Yeah, another great Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine, I suppose, within Huron's retinue. The next model is Immortal, and is the captain of the Reign of
Appunto,
Spite.
dico lei,
She's
altro
Captain
personaggio.
Spargotta.
Oh, che bello
She was
che
once
bella la
a
gamba.
Imperial
Figo.
Navy commander.
Dicevo anche
in
lei
the,
presa dal
solar,
romanzo di
segmentum
Brooks.
fleets. Incredibly well placed within the noble houses, long lineage and dynasty behind her. She was politically outmaneuvered once she was injured, and while she was convalescing, sort of her position and station were taken from her. In revenge, she essentially orchestrated the handover of an entire naval dockyard and its ships and crews.
Esatto, sì, sì,
to
sì,
a pirate
personaggio
fleet.
legato alla
Very
marina,
very
esattamente.
Exactly, and now she serves on one of the biggest battle cruisers in Huron's fleet, where she oversees a lot of his operations. She also joins the battlefield sometimes, which is why she's on this command air here.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite model from
Sì, anche a me
this box set.
mi piace
It's
quando
really,
fanno
really fun.
magari
It's like a nice
personaggi di questo
characterful
tipo.
diorama piece. The thing that she's
Sono
floating
caotici,
around
però
on
un
actually is
caotico
something
non
that she uses during boarding
necessariamente
of enemy ships.
tentacoli
So
in
it's effectively
giro,
like a
cioè
mobile command base
non
where
quel
she
tipo,
can plug it
necessariamente quel
into
tipo di
the
caotico.
command stations of enemy ships once they've been boarded to take it over.
Yeah.
So she's all in pirate.
You can imagine all the mechadendrites underneath. You can imagine them slotting into all the ports in a plundered ship, and then suddenly all of those data slates behind her come alive with all the information you need to essentially.
È vero, ha
steer in the
quell'idea
entire
di
I
sa
like the
quasi
little
di
bird
miniatura
skull
che
on
mi
the shoulder as
aspetto
well. I like to imagine one of
d'anniversario.
those was a parrot.
E
There you go.
fluttua, è
Yep,
questa
very
piccola
practical.
piattaforma fluttuante.
Fantastic model and really exciting addition. The next one, maybe even stranger, and a lot of people have been trying to guess what this means. They've looked
I
at
don't
the
think
silhouette.
anyone guessed right.
Yeah,
If you did,
absolutely.
well done.
Very contento.
This is a Tyrellian dog soldier.
E
known
infatti
as
un
the
tarelliano.
Enforcer. She is
E infatti un
essentially
tarelliano.
the
Ma che bello!
warrior that Huron
Mazza,
sends
che
out
perché anche
to,
lì i
hunt down
tarelliani
those who would dissent
sono,
against him,
sono
and,
xenommercenari
people naysaying his
che tra
leadership,
l'altro andatevi
remaining
a
on the
recuperare se non
field.
l'avete
So
mai
the Enforcer
recuperato
hunts them down
uno dei primi
relentlessly.
episodi
She'll
del
go as far as it
bestiario in
takes
cui
to do
parlo
so.
dei
She
tarelliani.
takes with her
Però i
plunder,
tarelliani
which is
effettivamente, per quanto ci siano sempre state
canine-ish,
delle
canid-looking
descrizioni,
That is, if you were wondering, an
non
adolescent
abbiamo
Barghese.
mai
The term
avuto
Barghese is familiar to you.
davvero
There's
delle
a thing called the hyper-violent Barghese, which has appeared a couple of times in our lore.
rappresentazioni vere e
This is what they
proprie,
look
solo
like before. They
qualche
are big enough to be
descrizione un
called
pochettino.
hyper-violent. When she first met it, it bit her arm off, which is why she's got that unusual bionic sort of fist thing that you can
I
see.
cani
Now
soldato
it serves
tarelliani.
essentially as her little hunter-killer. But she has to keep an eye on it because they're prone to spates of really rapid growth. And
Bellino,
eventually will
bellino.
become too big to
Perché
manage.
appunto dico, si sapeva, era già noto, i tarelliani sono mercenari per un sacco di gente ed era già ben noto che fossero mercenari anche per Ulon. Fico.
Or the space farm.
Oh yeah, we're a happy ending for everybody in the grim darkness of the far future.
I think what this miniature does, in terms of like telling you about the story of Huron and the Maelstrom itself, is indicating that not only have you got like renegade Chaos Space Marines and humans, you also have alien pirates and bounty hunters and all the kind of ne'er-do-wells and
Oddio, metto sull'Italia, non mi ricordo precisamente, perché comunque sono apparsi in giro, cioè ho detto sono mercenari per un po' chiunque. Non mi ricordo se c'era apparso uno anche nel figlio indicatore. Non mi ricordo, ammetto, in questo momento. Non la può smettere Twitch di mettere sta merda che appare a schermo. Io, quando la smetterà Twitch di inventare ste cagate.
The Masters of the Maelstrom are joined by this box set. Everything you see here comes in a big box called the Lords of the Maelstrom and is essentially the heart of a Red Corsairs army. It's got loads of great models in it, including some brand new ones. Let's take you through what you can see in here.
Yeah, so some of these miniatures, all of these miniatures will eventually be available separately. Some of these are old miniatures with upgrade kits, some of them are brand new miniatures.
Bello, bello, che bello. Questo non me l'aspettavo, però figo, perché sono quelle cose che fanno un po' più varietà nella gamma Marine del Caos, che bello. Quanti bei kit bash che ci fai qui.
Bad Wars and the various different conflicts within the Maelstrom. As far as in-game,
cioè questo cambia
really useful little unit. They have infiltrate, they have 3 wounds each, they have a really respectable combat
Guarda, tutti con le armature tutte spaiate, pezzi di Mark 3, pezzi di Mark 6, pezzi di Mark 4. Oddio, sono veramente contento. Questa roba toglici giusto, magari se non li vuoi fare caotici, ci togli lo spallaccio, ci togli qualcosa, ma sai quante bande da guerra che ci fai? Che ne so, appunto, come dice Bosca, di carcarodonti, di capitoli che magari hanno armature spezzate. Queste ci fai veramente tanti di quelle opportunità modellistiche.
These are the Chaos Terminators that you already know and love if you're a Chaos Space Marine player. The difference here being they have new sculpted detail shoulder pads, which are included within this box set. So essentially, you can just tailor them to look like Red Corsairs. Obviously, Chaos Terminators are fantastically useful if you're living your life via the medium of shipboarding actions.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of Chaos Terminators that show up in some of the Red Corsair Black Library.
Questi però quanto ho capito, questi invece sono teoricamente gli stessi, ma con un kit di modifiche in più. Spero che un giorno li rifacciano proprio, vi dirò. Spero che un giorno, dato che comunque i Terminator li hanno rifatti, spero che anche loro a un certo punto vengano rifatti proprio di base come scultura. Però, dai, magari se un giorno li rifanno, questa immagino sprue aggiuntiva potrebbe essere comunque compatibile.
Ammo belt cutter and trophies and that sort of stuff. There we go. That is the whole upgrade kit. So you can see there, you've got the Terminator shoulder pads, you've got the shoulder pads that fit Legionaries, but they'll also fit anything in that kind of like size of armor. If you want to have some like Raptors or something, you could do those too. You've got some really cool unhelmeted heads.
I think the heads are the most exciting.
The heads are cool, yeah. I mean, it's all good.
Carino, nel senso, kit di spallacci, fichi qualche testa.
The appropriate iconography on it, you can do that too.
Yeah, what you get with this transfer sheet is way more than you need to do just the models that come in the set. So if you're looking to build a big
già comunque il kit dedicato, insomma, si vede che è già bello curato, però questo magari se uno ha delle squadre generiche. Finalmente anche questo. Azzo, finalmente abbiamo un kit dedicato per la guardia traditrice, carino.
And sort of try and survive outside of the restrictions of the Astra Militarum and the Imperium at large.
That's fair. And we've got one more miniature, I think.
Yeah, and so bringing up the Rhea is actually my favourite model out of this launch. I think the Rhea Captain really hits home on what it means to be a Renegade Chaos Space Marine. Just a fantastic model. He's a multi-part kit, but the one right in the centre is the one that really gets me. Loads of detail, loads of plunder. He's picked up bits and pieces from lots of battles, and he just looks incredible. And he's quite good in the game, right?
Yeah, so there's loads of options on the kit to start with. So
sì, però mi pare che cos'è? Magari la rendono proprio un kit dedicato unico a sé stante, proprio, non proprio solamente la cosa che arriva da Kill Team.
Pistol. He is a very good addition to your army. He is a Reeve captain. So I suppose might indicate that he's either maybe a veteran of the Astral Claws, maybe one of the previous captains, or maybe someone who's risen.
C'è anche questo appunto, dico, prendilo, magari se vuoi, non lo vuoi fare dei Corsari, limaci un po' il simbolo dei Corsari, posto, ed è un kit versatilissimo.
He's a great addition to some of those Red Corsair squads we talked about before, so he can be right up in the enemy's face early on in the game.
E nemmeno necessariamente caotico, perché anche lì dico, vuoi fare semplicemente una roba ornata che non è necessariamente caotica? Limaci delle cose, cambia qualche dettaglio, cambiaci magari lo zaino, però qui dico, è un modello che già di per sé è molto carino, vacci a modificare delle cose, fai un po' di sano e buon modellismo, sai quanta roba ti esce fuori.
With all of the stuff that we've just talked through there, you can absolutely do this as a Red Corsairs army if you want to go all in for Huron Blackheart and go with the red and black of that force, you can, or you can add these into any other Chaos Space Marine army. So if you've got an existing Black Legion army and you want to sprinkle a little bit of Red Corsairs into it, or team them up with the Alpha Legion, you can.
Tandrone. Un doppio benvenuto per il tuo primo
messaggio. Not even halfway done with the stuff for this Maelstrom section. We've talked about Huron and the Red Corsairs. In that video that we saw at the beginning, we saw another
half
force.
The pirates we have.
Exactly. So let's go and look at Prince Iriel and his Eldritch Raiders.
Si vede l'inquisitore quando c'è il bersaglio perdicorno, no, se intendi l'axeno che accompagna l'inquisitore e di un'altra specie che appariva per la prima volta proprio in quel romanzo.
And really, solidified his sort of place in
I
legend.
team c'è ancora, semplicemente hanno separato in scatola guardia e scatola... Ah, ok. Beh sì, ci sta, un repack.
And at the head of this army, the Eldritch Raiders. This is a box set. Everything you see on here is included within it, and we'll take you through and have a quick look at all of those things. First out of the gates are the Corsair Skyreavers.
Yeah, so this is a really useful little unit for Corsairs. You can include these in a Corsair army or in a entirely craft world
Bellini,
army
loro
if you want to.
sono...
And this is a really
sono
flexible,
un po' a
fast-moving
metà
unit. You
tra
can
i
hit them out
falchi
in all sorts of different
predatori
ways. They come
e
as standard with Corsair
i
blades
vecchi
and
corsari di
pistols, which is
Forge
a great little kind of
che avevano le
combo
alette.
to pick on little isolated enemy units. But you've also got the option to include quite a lot of different special weapons in the unit. So if you want to make them anti-infantry, you've got things like shredders and flamers. If you want to make them anti-tank,
Solo che quelli di Forge avevano le alette, ma erano le alette non necessariamente... Ce n'era bisogno? Sì.
And a reactive move ability as standard, which means they're going to be very hard to pin down. So they've got a phenomenal kind of objective game.
Yeah, they really play into that sort of hit and withdraw aspect of the Eldritch Raiders that makes them famous. They're also a lovely callback to some very classic Rogue Trader era artwork. If you're of a certain vintage like me, you'll recognise it, and it feels quite nice to see that sort of imagery making it into the modern Warhammer 40,000 tabletop. In a similar vein, in terms of the flexibility and the way they fight, there's another unit within this set. You'll be familiar with them if you've maybe played Kill Team over the last few years. These are the Corsair Void Reavers. So it's the same kit returned, and they'll be in this Eldritch Raiders box. Tell us about the Void Reavers, if you would.
Yeah, so the Corsair Void Reavers are your kind of line Corsair infantry. That's a really flexible kit.
Sono
You
I
can build
soliti.
as either a kind of battle line version or as an elite version. They have loads of different weapon options. So they're one of the most flexible kits in Warhammer 40,000 in terms of the different range of stuff you can give them. You can make them very anti-infantry or very anti-character or very good at shooting or combat or taking out tanks or whatever you need, really. The bits in the kit are really interchangeable with the other new Corsair stuff that's on its way as well. So it was already a really flexible unit, and now it's even more flexible in terms of how you can build it. And if you are a fan of kind of kit bashing stuff together, this is a dream, this box.
Yeah, absolutely. To lead these all into battle, there are two heroes within the Eldritch Raiders set, the first of which is Karseth. Karseth is a Void Dreamer.
Karseth è questo personaggio che era già apparso con il racconto di Warhammer Community, lo nominavano già lì.
In the fabric of reality. So one of the gifts that Karseth has is to detect warp translations. Imagine that you come out of the warp with your fleet and you're straight into the gun sights of the Eldritch Raiders.
L'elmo mi sa un sacco di vecchi design Eldar, ma proprio vecchi intendo. Erano più i vecchissimi design Eldar più bulbosi.
You can imagine them sort of speaking into the minds of the warriors and making sure that everybody's all on the same page.
Yeah, so a really useful unit in game terms as well. This is an Eldar Psyker and comes with a ranged psychic attack, like Psychic Storm style thing. But the reason that they really pop is the special rules that come with them. One of them is the ever useful ability to stop enemy units deploying within 12, so they can see the future, you can never catch them off guard.
Sapete cos'è? È che mi spiace solo tanto per gli innari, poverini, perché effettivamente minchia, invece adesso con i Corsari stanno facendo veramente delle figate.
That would be good for you. The other ability that they have is if you manage to hit an enemy unit with their psychic attack.
Purtroppo gli innari non hanno avuto il successo sperato, invece adesso quando sono andati a provare a mettere il mignolino nel campo Corsari, invece hanno fatto un successo dalla Madonna.
And of course they are led by none other than Prince Iriel. Prince Iriel is the outcast Prince of Iandon, and he's returned now with his Corsair fleet to deliver his craft world from annihilation once again by leading an army into the Maelstrom.
Che bello rivedere anche Iri adesso rifatto.
Very famous weapon. It's extremely dangerous. He's on his eye. That bionic is called the Eye of Wrath. It's powerful in its own right.
Mi piace ovviamente che abbia la doppia testa.
As well as an actual leader of
per me uno può farselo
solo
senza elmo.
I mean, a phenomenal miniature, right? Like it looks really cool. It's definitely a great glow up. But it's still very recognisably the Prince Uriel that we know and love. In game terms, he makes a phenomenal either leader for a Corsair army, or you can put him into a standard craft world force, and he has a very useful ability to
gioca Yu-Gi-Oh! E sta per estrarre una carta.
So just a really good all-round leader and a combat stat line.
Il cuore delle carte dell'Arcamondo.
Up with some of the best of the Eldar heroes. He's got a really nice damage 3 weapon, which is the sweet spot for killing a lot of the best units in Warhammer 40,000 these days. So he can rough and tumble with the best of them, really.
And he's got 2 banners, and banners are the best.
But that's how you know he's good, right?
Yeah,
No, però bello perché c'è molto le placche anche tipo
obviously,
stile
the other thing that you might have
Spettro
seen in that video and in the army shot that we saw was this. This is the Starfang. It is an a Aeldari unit which is designed to go alongside the Corsair raiders as they fight. It's pretty good in its own right. Eddie, can you talk us through it?
I absolutely can. So this is a really useful little utility
tipo un
unit. So first and
Venom,
foremost, it has
ma
a fairly respectable amount of firepower.
non-
Its firepower is geared to
non
killing
da
heavy
trasporto.
infantry level stuff. So AP3, strength 6, 2 damage stuff. So it's a Space Marine killer in terms of its damage output. There's a disintegrator cannon you can see on the front of it there. But one of the other things that it does for your army, which is really useful, is it can make one of your infantry units have stealth. So its grenade launchers can basically like cover the one of your infantry units in kind of cover and give them effectively makes them harder to hit, which is really useful because a lot of your army is going to be quite fragile.
Nice. One of the things that's really exciting about this is it is a twofer kit, as we sometimes call them. Essentially, the kit that's in the box, and eventually it will be available separately, also makes the Viper, which I believe is actually the name that the box will live under.
Mi sembrava un po' più grande. Mi dava l'impressione che fosse un po' più grande.
Been around for 30
Invece
years
no,
or more.
ok, ok.
Oh, you've aged me terribly. Yeah, this is a classic light attack vehicle. It's 2
Ok, quindi è proprio
crews, got that turret on the back,
compatibile.
and it's got a range of weapons available to it, right?
Yeah, so this is the updated
Pensavo
Viper.
avesse preso la linea un po' del Viper, ma che fosse un po' più grande. Invece no.
But some of the weapon
Ho avuto
options are a little more
un'impressione
flexible than they
sbagliata.
used to be. It still has the option of things like shuriken cannon. You can have a star cannon on there. You can have.
Vabbè, il
bright
Viper è
lance.
il cioè, è
Underneath
classico.
the Viper, you also have the option now to put an Eldar missile launcher on it. So that gives you the potential to make it quite a good anti-tank unit. You can put 2 of these in a unit. So you can imagine 2 bright lances, 2 Eldar missile launchers shooting into something becomes quite formidable. Or you get it out for pretty good anti-infantry with shuriken cannons and star cannons and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so we've got a
per
really
il
good
decimo
look at
mese.
it in person
10
on the
come
desk. It is
storia
a
d'eresia.
fantastic looking kit. It's got that classic
Scandiamo i mesi degli
expect.
abbonamenti per il libro
If you
dell'eresia.
build it the right
Ottimo,
way,
bene.
the turret has some play, so you can maneuver a little. This is an enemy battle painted one, and I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to fiddle with it too enthusiastically. And then, like, I guess the major difference is.
Vedete però tipo, cioè, questo nuovo io lo terrei chiuso come il Viper.
It's a really just a fantastic sort of innovation on a very
Lo trovo più
classic
carino
design.
a tenere l'abitacolo
Yeah, I mean,
chiuso come il
the
Viper.
current Viper model is lovely, but it's definitely showing its age a little bit around the edges. So the crispness on the detail on this, some of the posability, the weapons and that sort of
Mi
thing.
fa un po' più effetto alta velocità. Anche senza magneti, onestamente non credo che chi se ne frega, nel senso non credo che sia un crimine se io lo monto o se uno decide di montarlo con il vetro chiuso, nel senso non credo che qualcuno ti dice qualcosa. E se te lo dice, rompetegli le ginocchia perché è un coglione.
Kind of Corsari, yeah.
And then you've got the classic sort of craftwood helmets on the Viper, but you can mix and match as you see fit.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Where do you learn about all of these exciting Corsairs, both the Red Corsairs and the Eldritch Raiders? Well, of course, we need a book for that. And here we go. This is the succinctly named Warhammer 40,000, the Maelstrom, Lair of the Tyrant into the Nightmare Realm. If you are familiar with Titus, which just released, I think, this is a very
passione per i
similar idea.
magneti, allora
4 books
inattaccabile.
contained in a slipcase that detail all of the events that we've talked about and the characters and things, and some brilliant and exciting ways to play Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot to go through here. Just like the 500 Worlds books we've just seen released, there's loads of good stuff in here. Lair of the Tyrant is your lore book, so this dives into the history and environments and all the locations within the Maelstrom in a level of detail that we've never seen before. We find out about the key planets within that region, the bits that Huron is in control of, the various different battles that are ongoing. It's definitely not a unified empire, right? There are lots of factions all playing for their part and trying to carve
Sì,
out
raga, ovviamente man mano ci racconteremo tutto, assolutamente.
The Red Corsairs and
appena mi arriva 500 mondi Titus,
bodyguard and his
me ne
retinue
occuperò
follows
e
him round,
poi arriveremo anche a
Uriel
questo.
and his Corsairs as they battle against the Red Corsairs for dominance.
Yeah, each of these books does a slightly different thing. For example, Crucible of Champions is quite exciting because it is.
Vabbè, cofanetto, la struttura cofanetto è esattamente quella che hanno già spiegato per 500 mondi Titus, nel senso quello più a sinistra è il libro narrativo, tutto narrativo, gli altri invece sono praticamente libri campagna. che vanno a fornire varie tipologie di regole tra appunto letteralmente campagna. In Titus c'era abbordaggi, immagino che anche qua si vada di abbordaggi, cazzo e scontro tra pirati, mancherebbe anche altro.
Lair of the Tyrant detachments, as you might have guessed, has some detachments in. So one of the things that's worth saying about this book is, much like will happen with the 500 Worlds Titus book, all of the rules that are for match play will also be made available online and in the Warhammer 40,000 app, but you can also find them in print in Lair of the Tyrants, and there's some new detachments for Chaos Space Marines, as you'd imagine.
Quindi hanno detto riconfermato comunque che poi le regole per gioco gioco competitivo, insomma, gioco a punti, saranno comunque disponibili su Warhammer Community, perché comunque un conto le cose da campagna, un conto le cose che magari aggiornano a tutti gli effetti le armate, tipo appunto, che ne so, il nuovo profilo di Iriel o roba del genere, o di Huron, tutte queste cose qua l'hanno comunque già detto che avrebbero messo anche online, perché sono puramente aggiornamenti da codex e quelli li forniscono direttamente in digitale senza che ti compri il manuale, se ti serve solo quello. Vabbè, qua scatolozza abbastanza normale, però vuol dire che evidentemente nella storia appariranno anche loro.
5 Hellions and 10 Witches, so loads of that witch theme stuff that you were referring to before, and a really good bedrock for a new Drukhari army, or just the reinforcements if you're already deep into that collection. There's another one. This is the Leagues of Votan Battalion, and that includes the members.
Sul quando va, allora, puntando che sono brandizzate The Maelstrom, ok, ci conferma tra l'altro che appariranno anche i Votan, evidentemente, sempre in questa storia. Tutto comunque che ha un senso, perché Maelstrom è comunque vicino al centro galattico, quindi è anche molto logico che appaiano pure loro. Sul quando va, io credo tra febbraio e marzo, perché se adesso c'è 500 mondi Titus, io credo che bene o male, non sappiamo ancora quanti libri debbano essere questi qua di fine edizione, di fine decima edizione, però contando magari un 4-5, immagino che siano indicativamente uno al mese, un po' come è stato con Arca dei Presagi.
Prime Mod Hale asks, will Huron and his mates be available separately later, or will we be condemned to a character box?
Huron is in the character box in the same way that Titus is. So there's two big boxes coming out initially for the Red Corsairs. One of them is the Red Corsairs Army, which is the Reeve captain leading a force of Red Corsairs, and the other one is Huron and his bodyguard. Everything in the
ha chiarito qualcosa che per carità mi sembrava intuibile, però insomma, scatola Corsari con anche il capitano Predone, insomma, e scatola dedicata con Huron con sua squadra comando, un po' come è stato con Titus e sua squadra comando, peraltro.
I don't think so.
Perfect. And then a question, I think, regarding the Viper from Jocked 4020 is the turret interchangeable? I think if you built it carefully, you might be able to interchange the weapons, but I think once you've built the turret, that's your lot. So
I haven't built it, so I don't know for sure. You could certainly have a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your questions coming in. We'll try and answer some as we go through.
Se c'è una bella rizza spaziale, vuoi che non arrivano anche i filibustieri? Ma guarda, se vogliono premere l'acceleratore sul tema piratesco, a un certo punto vogliono farci anche i filibustieri, io sono solo felice. Una bella ventata di filibustieri mi piacerebbe un botto per aggiungere anche quella alla gamma orchesca, secondo me sarebbe fichissimo.
I'm quite sure that we will list the factions.
200 RAS, oddio, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can decide for yourself. I think it's almost everything in Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah, I would be surprised if we've left somebody out, to be honest. Perfect. Thank you very much. We should press on. So,
there is a little bit more Warhammer 40,000 later on as well.
Yeah, that's fair to say. We are about to go to the Mortal Realms, but there's more Warhammer 40,000 later. But let's go to the Mortal Realms now.
40.000 comunque, Horus Heresy più sempre 40.000.
My lord, you can't just
Lo sapevo. Appena ho visto sto fumetto ho detto adesso lo rifanno la battuta, non puoi solamente risolvere i tuoi problemi con il bostone. Ovviamente. Capito? Hanno tipo un occhio da una parte e poi sopra. È fighissimo. Oh, quanto belli questi. Perché anche il comandante su carro. Bello. Vabbè, scatolone palese. Anche per loro, immagino. Almeno, mi sapeva tanto da formazione scatolozzo.
Eddie, let's talk about what we saw, I guess.
Yeah, so this is a fairly large drop of new miniatures for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. A lot of these units fill a really nice niche in the army that players have been looking forward to for a long time. If we start with the Mortex Triaxes, we saw a Ossiarch with a bow quite a while back actually in a Warhammer Underworld Warband.
Lì dall'anteprima effettivamente li faceva solo vedere come scatole separate. Non lo so, è che inquadrato così sapeva tanto di ok, ecco a te lo scatolone. Invece no.
And he's given it to his phalanxes, and now you can have entire units of bowmen in your Ossiarch Bone Reapers army, and that does some really fun stuff for you.
Tipico che facciano gli scatoloni, che stupisce quando non lo vedi
which has never really been an option before. You can imagine loads of these backed up by your Mortec crawlers and things. You can absolutely dominate.
È vero, se modifichi un po', sì, Garrion, un po' gli altri, anche lì ci fai un po' di membri consortium, di Fobis, sì, ma si prestano benissimo.
Braziers that follow the unit around.
Già solo se modifichi Garrion ne fai praticamente la metà.
And these are Balefire Braziers you see in the bottom left of your screen right now. They're essentially tokens. What happens is if you fire the whole unit at one enemy, once you're done, you place one of these Balefire Braziers on that unit. And that has a few effects. The most significant from my point of view is that that unit, while it's got that token on, can't heal wounds or get models back. And so instead you take that token off.
Il piccione viaggiatore spiritico con il foglio è bellissimo.
In addition to it, looking fantastic with those shrieking faces in the flames.
Sì, ma io onestamente i Custodes Corsairs li reputo scontati.
So obviously Nagash
forges like a bonus eye in their forehead.
Yeah, well, but it's maybe not quite where you'd expect it to be. Maybe it's like right at the top of where you'd hold an arrow. I don't know if it makes you better at shooting an arrow.
Do they even see through eyes?
I don't know. Who knows, right? So, but anyway, they're quite good at shooting. You'll definitely see some in Ossiarch armies, and you can do some very fun stuff with your.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is another infantry unit for the army. These are the Mortis Reapers. They are dread assassins from the realm of death, and they use their Reaper's blades to butcher the enemy, specifically enemy heroes.
Yes, so this is a very useful unit for taking on enemy heroes and kind of those little isolated useful units like wizards and priests and stuff like that. They've got two things that help them out with that. They've got anti-hero on all of their weapons. They also have the ability to effectively teleport through pieces of terrain. So you can move towards a terrain feature, you can pick the unit up and you can redeploy it on the other side of that terrain feature. So you can catch out enemies that are trying to hide behind cover.
Well, it's a favourite tactic, right? You know, park behind a piece of terrain and think you're safe, and these guys burst out the other side. That's quite nasty. And fantastic in terms of imagery. This is a very different look and feel to what we expect from the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who are normally quite regimented and sort of militaristic.
Yeah, they used to sort of frowned upon within some of the Ossiarch circles, isn't it? Some of
it's not quite the way it should be done.
It doesn't seem like it's fair. Like they are all about rules, aren't they?
Anche hanno un po' la brutta reputazione, non sono visti così bene evidentemente questi assassini tra gli Ossiarchi.
This is a Liege Mortec. A good, solid battle line leader to accompany the troops, and he has some good abilities.
Beh, lui un nuovo.
Yeah, so I mean, first and
foremost,
he is
morte
capiedi. You can use him to wander around with your infantry phalanxes. He has a particularly cool little ability, which is that if he is in combat with an enemy unit and you activate him to fight, another unit nearby can fight or shoot into the same combat, and they get +1 to their hit rolls.
Carino, per chi è interessato alla parte regolistica, appunto, se lui attacca può dare la possibilità a un'altra unità sufficientemente vicina di attaccare o sparare a sua volta, avere un bonus nel farlo.
He also stacks really nicely with your phalanxes of spearmen and line infantry within the Ossiarch. So just a really solid, dependable hero to put in the military army.
If you're going for Mortec Guard and Triaxes and Crawlers, you want a couple of these to keep everything operating at maximum efficiency. I think that +1 bonus on those to hit rolls is really going to be great. Speaking of heroes, we also saw the Liege Cavalos on War Chariot. I feel like this is like something that Nagash dreamed and recalled from a world that was, you know, back from ancient Nehekara with their, you know, they were renowned for their chariots, and here
sì, certo, facciamo
amazing.
Nagash ci deve fare qualcosa che deve ricordarli la vecchia Nehekara con i carri, ha senso.
The filter of the god of death But these are
Sono dei
very
cazzo di
powerful units in the
costrutti da
game.
incubo.
There's two versions of this kit. There's one that you can make into a hero chariot, and there's also a kind of standard chariot. The hero chariot is a really, really durable unit. They both are, but the hero one has 12 wounds, a 3 up save, and a
Un
will
eroe con
save.
12
So
ferite.
even without being fast and having lots of other abilities, he's just really hard to kill and get rid of. But he stacks really nicely if you send him in alongside some chariots, because he's got some abilities that let them kind of grind into the enemy units even after they've charged in and done all their kind of damage and impact hits and stuff. You can keep just doing stacks and stacks and stacks of mortal wounds into enemy units.
Yeah, the idea here, I think, will generally be hammer and anvil strike, right? You use your undying legions to hold the enemy on the anvil and then just smash them away with the hammer of the cavalry units and chariots.
I think all the stuff coming out for Ossiarchs just gives them loads of new options. Because I think there's been a couple of ways to play Ossiarchs for a little while now, but now you've opened up a whole swathe of new things, right? So you could imagine armies that leaned really heavily into chariots and had death riders and stuff accompanying them. Yeah. You can imagine armies that lean really heavily into shooting, a combined arms.
Non lo so, Arkan su carro onestamente non me lo sarei aspettato, perché prevedendo gli Ossiarchi, Arkan teoricamente non è fra loro, perlomeno. Per adesso, meno che non torni in una forma differente. Però.
This is
the invece,
army of Arkan the Black,
però lo stesso,
and it's an army of renown. So if you want to take an Ossiarch Bone Reaper's army with a slightly different feel, essentially you don't have access to all of the units you would normally do, but you get
era già a livello di regole, era già con
the wizards that accompany him,
con gli Ossiarchi, che a me di regole ammetto non ricordo, non ho proprio idea. O lo hanno messo adesso con gli Ossiarchi? Ah, ok, non lo sapevo.
Arkan's like one of the top wizards of death, right?
Yeah, he's also been part of Warhammer for
a very long
I think
time.
40 plus years at this point.
Ero convinto fosse altrove a livello di regole.
If you like Magic and you like Ossiarchs and you want to just go all in for Magic, this is one of the ways you can do it. This is a great little box set to start off. You can also just
vabbè, allora aveva senso magari aspettarsi che fosse un Arkan su carro. Allora ha senso.
So here we have the Heralds of the Bone Tithe.
Partivo dalla convinzione che non fosse con loro.
Effectively, this means that you can put some of your Ossiarch units into any other death force. So if you have something like a Soulblight Gravelord's army, or a Nighthaunt army, or a Flesh Eater Court's army, you can send some of Nagash's tax collectors along with your force, so that when the battle has finished, they can go around the battlefield.
No, lo so, Arkan effettivamente.
There's some really nice little abilities.
Dovremo vedere quando a un certo punto tornerà, cioè a tutti gli effetti. Per ora è.
They have to use a command point if they want to fight, which is
really nasty.
It's really, really good. You've got to get it cast. Your opponent will know you're trying to do it.
Però il fatto che comunque
game-winning little move in there. If
sia
you can
qui
stop an enemy unit from fighting because they've run out of command points,
ci fa abbastanza capire che a un certo punto in qualche forma torna.
Just to do something they would
normally do. That's anything that you can force your opponent to have to use resource they don't want to is great.
It feels like a really thematic use of Mortian, right? He's the sort of the master.
Magari adesso non l'hanno ancora contestualizzato a livello narrativo, però immagino che a un certo punto.
There are only two things in life that are completely inevitable: is death and taxes, and this box is both of them. Speaking of death, this is the Death Battle Tome Bone Reapers. It contains everything you would expect to find in a battle tome. So this is full of brilliant lore about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers and who they are and how they fight, as well as all of the rules for everything that we've talked about. They've got a really interesting new rule available to the army, which is Relentless Discipline. I'll just touch on it very briefly, but there's like a new little widget attached, the profile circle that you get. And the heroes essentially get Relentless Discipline points, which they can spend. So the Liege Mortek, this little guy here, gets 5, Nagash gets 10, and they can spend those throughout the game to gain some extra abilities. Really exciting. I've not collected any Ossiarch Bone Reapers
nel senso
as I was sort of deep diving into
meccanica, guadagni punti, spendi punti per ottenere bonus, abbastanza classico, nel senso poi magari una volta che uno lo leggerà sarà un po' più particolare, descritta così, abbastanza normale.
How many heroes do I want so that I've got the right amount of tools and of these points to spend on my units? So it definitely rewards someone with a systematic and kind of strategic approach to putting an army together.
If you want to get a sense of the scale of the things, we've got them here, and I'll put the Liege Cavalos alongside the Liege Mortek. He's already a fairly big Ossiarch bone reaper.
He's taller than a Stormcast.
Exactly, and then the chariot is just this.
Sì, i box sono dei repack alla fine. In questo caso appunto non hanno fatto lo scatolone.
Options and bits on them as well. So if you build either of these characters, you've got some spare bits, and you can customize a little bit and choose whether you want to go with a spear or a sword or which of the various headdresses and things.
And I think you could probably do some quite interesting things in terms of converting across these two models as well. If you wanted multiples of either.
I mean, that's what Nagash is doing really. He's just getting all the bones in a big pile and building his own thing, right? You too could be a Lord of Death.
Perfect. Right. That is not it for the Mortal Realms, however. We have another battle tome to show you that is coming out fairly soon. This is the Chaos Battle Tome Disciples of Tzeentch. And as you might expect, it contains everything you need to know about the followers of the Changer of Ways and all of his armies that are at his disposal. And it's not just a book that's coming out. We are also accompanying it with a new miniature, which is the Fate Master. Eddie, what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so Fate Master is the general of the mortal armies of Tzeentch. Of course, they are a wizard, because almost everybody who follows Tzeentch is in some way or shape or form a wizard. But primarily, they are leading things like your cleric acolytes and things like that into battle. Because this is a Tzeentchian general, they don't really play fair, so a lot of their tricks and things that they bring to the battlefield are less about winning in a straight fight and more about deceiving your opponent. So you can use some of their abilities to move your own units around the battlefield when the enemy comes within range to try and charge your units. All of a sudden they're not there anymore.
Cioè, siccome c'era nella
and you can
copertina.
engineer some very advantageous combats. So they are a great little unit. They are still a Chaos
C'è
Lord.
anche
They
l'opzione
still
senza
fight in
elmo.
combat very effectively, but it's the tricks and the strategic positioning stuff they bring to your army that makes them really pop in your games.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a new terrain piece for these, which is just fantastic.
Non c'è, non l'hanno fatto vedere. Però strano, nel senso,
Argent
non lo metti in copertina.
Just fantastic embodiment of like the weirdness of Tzeentch, right? When you look at these and sort of the magic swirling around them. There's a
nuovo elemento
story
scenico.
model which is borne out by the rules and the lore. Essentially, you see the one on the left on the screen sort of being torn apart. These drift around the battlefield, they're really useful.
Per un attimo ho visto così, poi sì, ha subito detto è elemento scenico, però non l'avesse detto prima di mostrarlo, l'avrei abbinata prima a un incantesimo persistente.
Yeah, so they've got two abilities, effectively. One of them is that if one of them is on the battlefield, you can immediately make another one in your hero phase. And if you've got them on the battlefield, you can reposition them as well.
Vabbè, ma se c'è l'opzione, intendo. Poi magari dici, ok, non mi piace tanto come hanno fatto la testa scoperta, ci metto l'elmo, per carità. Però dato che comunque me lo fai vedere in copertina, davo per scontato che ci fosse.
You can use these to cast your spells further than you otherwise could.
O a volte capita che ci sono delle opzioni che non fanno subito vedere nello streaming, poi magari guardi l'articolo su Warhammer Community e c'è, quindi vediamo. Che mi sembra un po' strano.
That's like larger than the Stormcast Eternal there. So they're fairly big pieces of terrain, and they go back to that kind of classic Tzeentchian idea of the Silver Towers of Tzeentch, which has been part of their lore for kind of time immemorial. This is a little nod to that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see these.
Non credo faranno mai più nuovi persistenti, erano la gimmick di seconda edizione e basta. Però non avevamo fatto in terza anche già.
Like a Thousand Suns army, and you're building some scenery or something, you can imagine having these mixed in amongst them to make your battlefield look as Tzeentchian as possible.
Ok, che anche lì la narrazione è andata avanti, no, per carità.
Battle tomes forthcoming for the more
intendo proprio a livello di design, all'inizio mi aveva dato
almost equally magical as well.
L'idea di quel
These are
tipo.
of course the Order Battle Tome for the Lumineth Realm Lords. Again, everything you'd expect from a battle tome.
Anche sta copertina mi piace.
Fantastic new lore and all of the rules and things you will need to.
Ci sarà qualcosina di nuovo anche per loro, o che solo un personaggino?
Army rules have had a shake-up, which is quite exciting. Eddie and I were talking with the team from the Warhammer studio all about that. And we don't possibly have time to go into all of those details here today, but we'll be covering it as we get closer on warhammercommunity.com. There's also a new model for them. The Lumineth Realm Lords have been really well served with battlefield wizards, but maybe not as many sort of frontline fighting heroes. So this is a Venari Lord
abbastanza
region.
classico nel
design.
So
the Lord region effectively leads your infantry phalanxes into battle. They are a very competent fighter. They're an elven lord, so they've got a very respectable combat stat line. But the real thing they bring to the battle are two special rules in terms of your game. One of them means that nearby Lumineth units, when they rally, because they are a shining example to their people, you get to roll extra dice into that, which is really useful if you're trying to bring back your models, especially when they cost so many points for Lumineth. So every elf that joins your force is very worthwhile. The other thing they do, if you put them alongside a unit of your wardens, which are your big kind of spear phalanx, they can basically have the phalanx advance into enemy units and cause a whole bunch of mortal wounds. So your big scary block of spearmen becomes even scarier.
Driving forward that spear line. Yeah,
so your spearmen can not only do mortal wounds when they fight, they can also just do it passively by existing and pushing forward into the enemy force.
Fantastic. You've seen on the screen now that the kit has some variants. You can build it in a couple of ways or mix and match between. Maybe you get some spares. And we've got them actually on the desk in front of us if you want to have a look. The thing that I like about the sort of the difference in is you can see this one's got like a little amphora on his back, and then this one obviously has got this sort of double banner. Very catchy.
2 back banners definitely in this season, isn't it?
Oh, I tell you what. Yeah, banners are back, it seems. Banners back, that's good. So there we go. Again, just a great hero for your Luminous Realm Lords. We've got some questions. They've been flooding in through the chat.
Do my best.
Actually, the first question really hits near my heart. It says, from Prime Chatmandu, it says, do you ever get nervous when you're touching Evermore miniatures? Let me tell you, I am terrified every time I touch Evermore miniatures.
When they hand them over, they sort of scowl.
Yeah, well,
so we're not really allowed to.
Each of these represents like dozens, if not hundreds of hours of work by the best painters in the world, and they need to be treated that way. The first ever battle report I played years and years ago, I dropped a hell cannon, and I've always been nervous about it ever since. Next question is, can I use, and it's talking about the Liege Mortec, this is from Priminus Lamp, can I use this as a MOE proxy? I think you mean Master of Executions, and I think you need to do quite a lot of conversion work to do that. But that's
vabbè, sì, utilizzare quello che quei modelli precedenti dei Corsari come maestro maestro carnefice. Sì, vabbè, quel cazzo che vuole, nel senso, penso che Kit Bash nessuno ti viene a sparare, nel senso.
If the new Chariot and the Sunstealer Wheeler got into a race, who would die first?
Ooh,
well, I would argue that the Ossiarch Bone Reaper is already dead.
I think the Sunstealer Wheeler is faster. Probably.
E se qualcuno vi dice qualcosa al riguardo, ricordate il consiglio sulle ginocchia di
Never going to outlast the dead, is
he?
Perfect. Look, that was all a bit of fun. Thank you for keeping your questions coming in. We're going to go now from the mortal realms to a very unusual place, which is the gridiron, as we keep the theme of elves. And we go to Blood Bowl.
Vedi, so, Blood Bowl, elfi, infatti, alla fine era corretta la vostra supposizione degli alti elfi, immagino. Anche perché si era visto letteralmente nel vocale.
I got some things to say. This is a classic Blood Bowl team which has been like around for a very long time, and now it is redone and updated in plastic for the modern era. Season 3 of Blood Bowl launched just recently. And I'm really excited for these. I think this might be the last of the classic teams we're waiting to see.
Leone del Crace.
Anyway, if you know the Caledor Dragons, you might know what to expect, but they have 4 positionals, and each of them fills a very specific role within the Blood Bowl game. So
Nickastropate pesantemente influenzato da Corn, se sai. No, per carità, per carità.
Of the gridiron for the Caledor Dragons.
La gente che è fiscale su queste cose, no le modifiche, oh no, oddio, ho fatto del modellismo in questo gioco di modelli.
Because these guys kind of fill the role of a blitzer, but they also have steady footing, 6+ and you don't get knocked down, so you can use that against any of the circumstances which might come up. They also are penalised by a little rule which is known as My Ball, which means they can never give the ball away no matter what.
Don't like sharing.
So the trick with this is to burst through the enemy pitch, get down the field, and then get the ball to this guy. So he doesn't have to give it away. He can just go and score a touchdown instead. Next up, we have the White Lions. The High Elf team is a little bit different to some in that it doesn't really have a catcher.
No, infatti Bosca veramente.
Instead,
Bosca proprio tu non ti puoi proprio minimamente immedesimare nella persona che modifica. Cioè, proprio, è chiaramente un settore a te proprio lontano. Estraneo, oserei dire.
Oh my word. The claw is not just symbolic. They have the claws special rule, and what that means is that they never need more than an 8+.
Io sono sempre stato un grande fanboy del Crace, dei Leoni Bianchi. Ai tempi ero una di quelle persone, ai tempi della 7ª edizione del Fantasy, ero uno di quelli che diceva cazzo, però quanto sarebbe figo se facessero più modelli basati sul Crace. Ero proprio
fantastic stat line, really great.
Desideroso di modelli di quel tipo.
They have those throwing skills that you would expect. Also, they have Cloudburst, which is so good. Essentially, Cloudburst gives you a real advantage in that when you lob that ball, the enemy can't make intercept rolls against you. So, imagine your...
sulle regole non mi pronuncio, per carità, mi spiace che evidentemente siano pessimi, però...
all the way down the pitch. And nobody can catch it instead.
Da traduttore avresti comunque mantenuto Crace come nome o avresti tradotto Crasha come hanno fatto ad esempio gli spagnoli? Gli spagnoli hanno degli evidenti problemi.
Dragon Princes, they just like look exactly like those, but in short.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of like calves and thighs on display, but otherwise it is just pure Blood Bowl fun. Right, this is the 4th position. They're the High Elf linemen. In some ways, the linemen are like the boring part of your Blood Bowl team, but High Elf linemen are really good. Right, let's not beat around the bush. They've got great
Ho
stat
capito
lines,
che, cioè,
they've got
nel
decent
senso sì,
armor,
posso anche
they've got
capire la
skills to speak of,
filosofia alla base
but they're
del,
reliable. The
del
only
dire
downside is
perché
65
quella
odds, I think it
regione
is, to recruit
si
them.
basa su
Don't
questa
get a
qua.
massive
Ho
team. I
capito,
started
va
having a
bene.
time
It's
playing
definitely
Però-
things.
an elite finesse team.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and so you've got to get everything like acting in the way it's supposed to, and I guess you need these to do some of the heavy lifting in terms of maybe making tackles or throws or catches themselves. The kit also contains, crikey, I've talked a lot here. It also contains the balls, the turn and reroll markers, and everything that you would expect for you to mark in play. And there'll be a Spike Journal that comes out alongside all of this when it releases, which is full of all of the stories and the lore behind it, and information about different High Elf teams and all of that good stuff.
And dice and a pitch and all that jazz as well.
Yeah, I think you talked a little bit about how they key into sort of the classic imagery of the High Elves. I think one of the things that I really like is that bleeds into the rules in a way. The Dragon
no,
Prince,
appunto, che Lirio
Arrogant,
non è mica
Shock
tradotto il
Troops,
Lirio,
exactly.
no, ma
and the
appunto,
White
dico, cioè,
Lion, they were the monster hunters traditionally, right? And so
non
So
i
if the enemy's got
prodi
a
di
troll, you're
regioni.
like,
exactly.
you're going down troll.
Così.
That claw rule lets them go in and bust open, I don't know, Chaos Warrior armor or whatever it might be. Yeah, really great. Very exciting to see these finally.
Fosse
reach
proprio
the gridiron.
solamente una parola che semplicemente
And there we go.
inglese.
That is your Blood Bowl section. Pretty exciting.
Allora sì.
Coming to a pitch
Ma
near
lì
you.
è un voluto gioco di parole.
Next up, he says, we have a little bit of an animation clip to show some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah,
So,
clip
next up
d'animazione,
we
ma
have
immagino
a
di quelle
new
che
clip
si erano viste
from
già, che
Penitence,
c'erano già
which
stato
is
un
the new
trailer.
Warhammer 40,000 animation on its way for Warhammer Plus very soon. Here are the first 2 minutes of that show.
Ah, ok. Aeronautica. Quello era un Arbus. Ah, no, quello sulle sorelle invece. Ok, ok.
Like so much of our benighted Imperium, it clings on. A candle flickering in darkness. Our mission is of sacred importance. The enshrinement of our fallen Canoness Rexilla. She will be a beacon, a rising call to the faithful. She will mark Fusion 4 as a shrine world. The Emperor's flock will come, and with them, new hope. The foulness of the orcs shall be driven from this place. We shall risk everything for this. We will not fail, for to do less would be to fall short of what our Emperor demands. By fire and faith, we... His test begins.
Eddie, that was awesome. What can you tell us about Penitence?
Yes, this is a new animation on its way for Warhammer Plus. This is an Adeptus Sororitas animation featuring the Order of the Sacred Rose, which is, I think we haven't seen before.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are on a sacred mission to
sì,
find
Ordine della
found
Rosa
within the
Sacra,
Shrine
sì,
World. They
si
have a
sapeva.
sacred relic, and they have to get it to the Shrine World. Obviously, the mission doesn't quite go to plan. As you saw there, their ship is intercepted by some
Twitch,
orcs and
esattamente,
down, and then they
perché
have
io
to
non posso
trudge
nascondere
across this
questa
wasteland to
merda
get their relic to where it
che
needs to
appare
go.
a schermo? Fa
The
schifo.
orcs orcs in this are snakebite orcs, which is pretty cool. We haven't really seen snakebite orcs in animation.
Non voglio
before.
vederla,
Snakebites
mi dà
are, of course, famous
fastidio.
for bringing along gribbly, squibbly
Voglio vedere lo
beasts with them, and I
streaming,
can
non ste
confirm
cagate.
there is a squig in this
Posso?
animation.
Nice. So we get both a cyber cherub and a squig in Penitence.
Absolutely spoiled. Yeah.
Living the dream. When does it arrive?
So this is on its way in February. The first episode, it will be a 3-part animation with the first one landing in February, so not very long to wait.
No, perché sono
Fantastic. So if
stupidi.
you are not familiar with Warhammer TV,
Bello
it's,
però, nel senso, a
available
parte
through
questo, a
Warhammer
parte i
subscription,
cristi con
and it gives
Twitch
you
che
access
si
to
inventa
loads of
cacate e
animations
non, non le rende,
shows that are made by the
e
team
non le rende
in-house,
evitabili.
gaming and lore and all that sort of thing.
Bello
So,
l'estratto.
if you want to
Non vedo l'ora di
watch this as it
vederlo
comes out, make
completo.
sure you get yourself a subscription and join in. It's going to be great.
Exactly that.
Nice one. Right. There were some questions in the Blood Bowl section that I got hold of late, and my favourite question
Febbraio
was Custodes when. Well,
arriva
I'd like to tell you when. We're
questo
going to go
porto.
to all the way back to the Age of Darkness with this.
Ma perché devo avere i cavalli di Pro? Ma togli sta cacata, per favore, voglio vedere i modelli. Guarda quanto sono belli. Ah, infatti finalmente un po' più longilinei, che mi fa molto piacere. Oh sì, quanto godo. Che belli contento. Guarda tutta questa bella plastica.
I'm so excited by everything that we just saw there. We have the forces of the Legio Custodes for the Horus Heresy. Everything in that video we're going to talk about. Let's start with what you can see on the screen right now.
So this is a box, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah,
This is a brand new box.
This is the Legio Custodes battle group, and this is coming out as part of the launch. Everything in this is
Sì,
a
sì, ma
miniature,
teoricamente l'avevano detto fin dall'inizio
and
che
it
doveva
just
essere di
looks
Horus Heresy, nel
incredible.
senso,
You've got
da
two
quando avevano
Soldatis,
annunciato la
Custodians,
terza
you've got a
edizione che hanno
Dreadnought,
detto a un
Shield
certo
Captain,
punto
and a
dobbiamo
Grand
rifare
Tank.
la
Let's talk
gamma
about
dei
those in detail.
Custodes.
These,
Proprio
of course, are the Custodian Guard Sodality.
era stato
This
proprio
is a
comunicato
Custodian Guard
apertamente.
Sodality. They are the archetypal image of a Custodian. They are towering guardians, each one with a guardian spear, able to chop the enemy up in close combat and blast them apart at range. They are a brand new plastic kit, a slight readjustment, I suppose, of the proportions of the Custodians, but still very
No, ma va bene che
Custodians
abbiano
that
riaggiustato le
the
proporzioni,
Guardians of
va
the Emperor,
benissimo,
and
nel
still in the
senso,
Horus
perché
Heresy
almeno
at this
sono un
point,
po' più
successful.
longilinei e ci sta che
absolutely.
siano
They haven't got
magari
them
un po'
yet.
più proporzionati
The
rispetto ai
kit
Marine,
is, as I
va
said,
solo
it's
benissimo.
multiple plastic. There's some options in there.
Non vedo armatura con le
High
tette,
helm,
ovviamente,
high
giustamente
suit colours, you can see
anche.
here. There's some bear heads in the kits that you can build your models.
Come abbiamo
willing
visto,
to risk it.
giustamente
Based
non
on
hanno
your
quel
choice.
tipo di armatura, meno male.
And then there's option for the Vexilla in there, so you can carry proud standard of imperial rule.
Yeah,
on
you've
the
also got
battlefield.
all the Misericordia as you'd hope as
Yeah,
well. The little
absolutely.
kind of stabbing daggers that the Custodians have.
They're just dripping in all the paraphernalia and a power that you'd expect from the Emperor's most elite warriors. Here you can see some of the different heads that are available to the kit. So you can do a mixture or all of one style, whatever it is that suits you really. You've already said it, but for me, this is the quintessential image of the Legio Custodes, right? These like serried ranks of sort of spear-wielding, golden armoured warriors. I love it. They're not the only sodality in the Custodes Battle Group box set, though. You also have the Sentinel Guard, who are essentially the same kind of unit, but these are equipped with Presidium shields and Custodian Warblades.
Yeah, so another effectively battle line unit of Custodians, a normal
Mi
Custodian.
piacciono
is the word
decisamente
to
di
use to
più
describe
queste
the
spade
Custodian.
rispetto alle
These ones
precedenti,
are a
perché le
little bit more
precedenti l'ho sempre
defensive and a
trovate un
little
po'
bit
troppo
less killy,
tozze.
but every Custodian is a master of death and very, very durable.
Quindi che
These
siano un
ones
po'
have
più
shields, which in your games of Horus
allungate
Heresy
mi
can
fa
allow
solo
them to
piacere.
use, shield war special rules and make them a bit more durable against incoming fire, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And their invulnerable save is better because of those shields as well. They're just great. And so essentially you're just making that choice, aren't you, between these two units?
A little bit killier or a little bit more defensive.
And you probably, in truth, want a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Of course, there was more in
Un
that
Davide
big army shot
amichevole.
that we saw than just these
Grazie
two
mille per il
sodalities.
segui.
Next up, we have the Shield Captain.
Sono contento che tu sia
unapologetic
amichevole.
in that this is my favourite of the models in this Custodian release. I genuinely think this is incredible. The level of detail that they have captured on it is so good.
E poi raga, appunto dico, cioè, ok, sono brandizzati Horus Heresy, però letteralmente penso niente al mondo anche in questo caso mi ferma da dire mi prendo questo kit e me lo utilizzo per i 40.000, insomma.
These are essentially a top tier fighter on the battlefront. they can go up against anything up to and probably including the first
Un doppio
captains of the
benvenuto,
Space Marine
un
Legions.
Davide amichevole per
If
il
you're
tuo
not a
primo messaggio
Primarch,
nella
it
chat.
is not a pushover, and even if you are, be careful.
Yeah, a shield captain backed up by a squad of custodians can
Bella sta
happily
spada.
take on a Primarch level character and up against anything that's a Space Marine, unless
Poi è
you've
vero
got
anche lo scudo, cioè figo sto
a
personaggio in
very,
generale.
very impressive sword of some sort. You're definitely going to come out on the wrong side of that fight. The miniature is absolutely
So good,
dripping
yeah.
in detail. I think one of the things you can just see in that rotating image there is the text on the inside of the shield.
We got quite
Il
excited about
capitano
that earlier on.
scudo
One
è
of the
quello che
concepts
vuoi,
of
nel senso.
custodians generally is that they write their honor name inside their armor, and the idea here being that the titles that this warrior has achieved throughout their career has been so extensive that the achievements have gone beyond their armor and onto the shield itself.
Yeah, absolutely. A really fantastic model, and I wonder if we'll be talking about this as one of the models of the year this time next year. There's more inside this battle group than we've shown you so far. We go to the vehicles. So first of all, you have the Custodian Dreadnoughts. There's two variants. You can choose which one you're going to
Madonna,
build.
io ho sempre amato loro.
Which
Come
is the
ripeto,
Contemptor
solita
Achilles
questione del
Dreadnought.
io c'ho sto fetish
He's
per i
equipped with an
dreadnought
Achilles
che hanno in
War
mano le
Spear,
armi.
which is like the length of
L'ho
3
sempre
men.
Just a
amati.
giant guardian
L'ho
spear.
sempre
Yeah,
amati.
If you get put
E
inside a
quando hanno
dreadnought
fatto
and you're a
questi,
custodian, you're like, I
amati
really
due
like stabbing
volte.
people with a spear. Can I continue to do that? And the answer was a firm yes.
Yeah, and it's phenomenally dangerous. Big damage. It's got armor bane, so vehicles are in real trouble. For me, this is my favourite of the two, and we'll show you the other one in a second. But look at the pose that you've got on it. This kit is really poseable. They've made the most of the sort of multi-part plastic functionality that this kit enables to give you something really special.
Yeah, the Contemptor Dreadnoughts, all of the Contemptor Dreadnoughts, but particularly the Custodian ones, have been available in resin before, obviously,
Yep.
and they've always been kind of highly poseable. None of that posability has been lost in the transition to plastic, and actually it's now an even easier material to work with, and you've got more options and ways of building, so you can include half a dozen of these dreadnoughts in your army if you wanted to, and every single one of them could look completely unique and different in terms of posing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at the other one that's in. So this is the Contemptor Galatus Dreadnought. Again,
I think this one's my favourite. I think he looks absolutely awesome. There's something about a dreadnought with a massive shield and a massive sword that just absolutely works for me. And it mirrors the two different core unit types within the Custodians,
Exactly
right?
so.
You've got one with a spear, the more aggressive one. You've got one with a
Dai raga, a un certo punto anche il Telemon. A un certo punto anche il Telemon.
Dai. Custodes and your spear one go alongside the warriors that they fought with in life.
Yeah, the Contemptor Galatus has the Galatus Warblade. That is just going to cut through like medium and heavy infantry like nothing.
No, io non voglio troppo. Secondo me, a un certo punto, dai, non vuoi che non facciano anche quello a un certo punto? Ma me l'hanno fatti tutti. Dai, posso dire che magari non mi aspetto l'Incendium. Posso dire che magari non mi aspetto quello. Però il Telemon in futuro me lo aspetto.
A very, very good stat line. They can wade into whole phalanxes of enemy Space Marines and chop them to bits.
Yeah.
Very satisfying. They look great though.
The final thing that's inside that Custodian battle group box is this. This is the Caladius Annihilator Grav Tank. We'll talk more about other grav tanks in a minute, but essentially think of this as a main battle tank for the Legio Custodian Force.
Fanno comunque anche questi in plastica, che comunque è la base di carro che hanno i carri grav della Legio Custodes. Il Telemon è chiamatissimo a un certo punto. Poi chissà quando, però secondo me in generale, figurati se non fanno anche quello.
And then its alternate fire mode is multi-shot and is great at gunning down heavier infantry.
Yeah.
So I think that we were talking about.
Sì, sicuramente Henry Cavill sarà contentissimo. Henry Cavill sarà lì che dice adesso mi rompo un altro piede, così posso dipingere.
You have on the battlefield, so it's not enough that you've got a unit that's very good at killing tanks. It might also need to do some double duty to, pitch into the battle against enemy heavy infantry or support your units, whichever thing is currently giving you challenges. So most units in the Custodian army are quite good at several things.
Yeah, absolutely so. Those are the units that make up the Custodian Guard battle group that we've shown at the start. There are more units coming along the way.
Yeah, that'll be the first thing you can buy. That'll be if you want to go all in for a new Custodian army, that'll be the first thing, but your reinforcements are hot on their heels.
Exactly so. So next is the Caladius Grav Tank. It is very similar to the Caladius Annihilator Grav Tank. It's just not an Annihilator. Instead, it has an Iliastus accelerator cannon on its roof. Think Sikaran battle tank from the Space Marine Legions, if you know the setting and you know the war gear, is similar but upgunned version of that kind of weapon. So decent fire rate, gonna maul medium and light vehicles and pretty much any infantry you put in front of it. This is a big, heavy-duty tank.
Yeah, it's another great option for a line battle tank. You won't get many tanks in a Custodian army just because everything costs so many points, but there's certainly a place for one of each of these in a 3000
Sì, infatti, esatto, Marchi. Immagino che comunque, un po' come stanno facendo con il Mechanicum, sarà una cosa che man mano...
The biggest of all of them, which is the Coronis Grav Carrier. This thing is enormous. We've got one on the desk in front of us, we'll show you in a minute. But essentially this is big enough that it can carry an entire sodality.
Cosa mi impedisce di prendere queste miniature e giocare nelle 40.000? Ma in realtà niente, nel senso. Finché tutto sommato riesce a riprodurre le opzioni d'arma.
It really is. It's not unarmed as well. You can see the guns on it, but the one to talk about maybe is the Neutronium Cascade Projector.
Sounds cool.
We'll tell you more about that another time, but essentially it's a powerful gun.
Anche è trasferibile che indonese, perché riguardante la terra, riguardante la zona del blocco indonesico. Carino.
And all of these are plastic as well. This is a huge plastic kit.
Additionally, you might have seen in the video that we saw before, you have the
sulle dimensioni dei veicoli, magari non appena escono un minimo dei confronti, si può un attimino vedere. Però di base in realtà quei veicoli non sono in realtà, cioè un conto se dici sto semplicemente utilizzando, se tu dici voglio prendere quel veicolo perché voglio fare sostituzione tipo al posto dell'End Raider, è già lì un attimino. Però se dici guarda utilizzo sto custode e le armi sono quelle,
and effectively
cazzi, nel
ancient grenades from a bygone era that are more powerful than even things like the melter bombs of the Space Marine Legions.
Yeah, these are some dangerous guys. The kinetic destroyers, which is the sort of handgun-looking thing you can see, is a really powerful hand cannon. Basically, the Tarsus buckler reduces the strength of incoming enemy fire. Or if you equip them with the Veritu,
anche i Benatali mi sono sempre piaciuti, quello l'avevo letto.
Really great on the charge. So options a go-go for you to get
just in case your Custodians weren't scary enough, now they're faster than everyone as well, and there's no escape.
You can see here the front, I believe that is the Neutronium Cascade Mine. So
I think you're right.
Delivering fun into the heart of the enemy. All of this stuff and where you find it exists in the Custodes Liber, which we'll show you here. There you go. It's a big book. It's hardback.
Questo, vabbè, anche lì già annunciato ai tempi dicendo
Legio Custodes War
che avrebbero
and in addition to that, it talks
solo
about
dovuto aspettare il loro libro, ma sarebbe arrivato.
You've got the Anathema Psychana, the Sisters of Silence, and you've also got the Assassinorum. So you've got all the various tools.
È descritta come una sorta di mina neutroni, essenzialmente, quella roba che aveva in mano.
On Terra as his personal army, all very, very powerful forces in their own right.
Yeah, perfect. So we've got the models in front of us. It'll be fun to do a little bit of show and tell. First of all, we have a little stunt guy in the front.
Heresy Bob for scale here.
A happy little solo auxiliary, and let's just stand him alongside the shield captain for context and scale.
It's going to get you a nice close in a second, guys.
Ok, grazie.
I'll slide him back. So nervous.
Dico già così magari, che c'è la Tactical Rock sotto i piedi, però almeno dà un po' più di senso di imponenza.
The only thing better, I suppose, is the Primarchs. And these didn't go wrong.
And half of them went bad, really. So I mean, maybe they're the best they got.
And then you can see the scale of the other things. So you put the little guy up alongside the Grav Carrier. It's just enormous. This thing is huge. If I spin it round, you can see the entrance hatch.
It's like bigger than your hand, Adam. It's a big old thing.
So it's got this really cool entrance hatch. I was looking at some frames and there's detail on the inside.
Abbiamo scoperto da chi prendono il serogenetico i Blood Ravens, perché i Custodes hanno rubato le ali ai BA, quindi chiaramente sono in realtà non l'avevo mai saputo, i Blood Ravens sono chiaramente dei finti Custodes. Sono venuti un po' male.
What else is there to say on these? We should talk a little bit about the dreadnoughts. If you look at the sort of the chest armor on
abbiamo abbassato gli standard.
There's a few different options on there, actually. I was looking at the kits before. You've got options for things like the shoulder pads. So if you've got multiple dreadnoughts, you can have slightly different shoulder pads. There's some nice little areas for heraldry. So these ones have got some heraldic devices designed onto them. There's some different faces, I think, in the kit. You've got some different chests. You've obviously got the different weapons. So you've got loads of ways of making
quindi hai qualche opzione
heraldica. But a lot of it's kind of sculpted on, so you could paint them very quickly if you wanted to. If you wanted, spray them
Sì,
gold,
da ora
put a wash
canonico,
on them.
canonico.
They look
Sì,
pretty
You're
great.
almost ready for war.
Yeah,
at
they're
that
kind of
point,
ready.
aren't you? Yeah,
But it
absolutely.
also, if you wanted to spend hours and hours and hours and make these, you know, the best model you've ever painted, they are a fine candidate for that as well.
Sì, vabbè,
They're
raga,
just
tanto
really,
usciranno
really lovely
nei
models
prossimi
to,
giorni usciranno
put your hobby
tutti,
hours
tutti i
into and get some really
confronti
nice out of it.
fatti, tanto
The other
basta
thing that is worth
fare la
saying about
proporzione con le
a lot of
basette
these
e vedi la
miniatures is they
dimensione
will obviously
dei
have some
modelli.
dual purpose in Warhammer 40,000 as well.
Absolutely.
So if you have an Adeptus Custodes army, things like the Dreadnoughts obviously are already a data sheet in your force. You already have data sheets for things like Custodians with Guardian Spears and with shields.
The shield captains are an
Shield
absolute shoo-in,
captains as
right?
well. So lots of these, if you wanted to put them into your Warhammer 40,000 army, there's absolutely no reason not to.
Yeah, perfect. So we're not done with the Horus Heresy. There's still more. There's obviously a little bit for the Legiones Astartes.
Ok.
So first up, we have the Legion Glaive super heavy tank. You were really excited about this
I
one.
think this is my
Anche
favorite.
lui
This is my favorite super heavy, and I think
arriva
it's
in
mostly because I
plastica.
just love Volkite. There's something
It
about
is a
it.
cool
It's just
looking gun, isn't
like
it?
intrinsically heresy for me. And this is the largest plastic Volkite gun we have ever seen, not counting things like stuff on Titans that we might have seen in epic scale.
Yeah,
in
in
the
tiddly
past.
tiny scale.
But it is an absolutely enormous tank. It is obviously the Fellblade is the same chassis, but this has, I think, a cooler looking gun.
Beh,
I know
hanno
you're a big
scritto,
fan of
So-
these.
hanno scritto
Fellblade
Bellero
is one for me, but I can't
Fonalato,
deny the
chiaramente
coolness of
anche
this.
loro
The
rubano
panning
dai
shots that you're
dia.
getting right now really just show how cool and detailed this model is, right? That camera is so close to the model, and it just looks just crisp and brilliant and exciting.
This one, of course, painted in Iron Warriors colours.
Yes, well-
it also looks equally good in the other 17 available colours.
Yeah, I would think so. Better maybe in the colours of the first, I think. But, you know, who am I to judge? It is a Volkite carronade, if you're wondering. It's just an enormous gun that will deflagrate your enemy should you so
Great
desire.
words, great special rule.
It's not the only Astartes tank available.
Sì, ho detto, man
there
mano
was also
stanno
the
rifacendo
return
un po' di
of a
tutto.
stalwart of the Legiones Astartes, and indeed the Space Marines of the 41st Millennium as well, with the Whirlwind missile tank.
There's something just kind of lovable about the Whirlwinds. This is
It's a change in the scale and
it's just
magnitude
nice,
here,
it's
isn't
just nice. It's got a very useful little artillery piece.
Mi
does
piace
lots of
più con
useful,
questo
very cool
stile
stuff
che
for you in the
quello
game.
classico.
This is a long-range artillery support piece that can reach enemy
Beh,
units where
intendo
most of your things can't
intendo
get to
l'arma,
them. Lots of the different missiles you can give it have morale sapping effects, basically.
Yeah,
so
so
it's a debuffing
If you put
piece
so
of artillery.
it comes with explosive standard. You upgrade those missiles to Pyrax if you want. At which point you can literally just drive people off of objectives by causing panic. Fantastic for shifting, hard to move. You know, when normally you're trying to kill dozens and dozens of models to claim objectives, whereas land
they
one of
just
those
make them
shells
walk
in it
off
and just,
it,
yeah,
you can
just
just
give
hit
it to you.
We were talking before, this is obviously painted up in the colours of the Imperial Fists. We thought it was quite amusing that it's done as a Templar, because they're obviously the keenest usually to get into close combat.
You can imagine how that went. It's like, my Lord Dawn, I'm now a Templar brother and I'm itching to serve. And he's like, sit in this at the back, please.
Oh, maybe a punishment, perhaps.
Maybe he just likes Sigismund too much. Who knows? It is fantastic, and we're very excited for it. Where will you find all the information you need for these? Well, thankfully, there is a new journal Tactica on the horizon. It's called Mailed Fist, and it details the Legiones
Poi man mano
super heavy
recuperiamo.
tanks. Lots of lore, organisation charts, and information on how they were fielded, the operations that they fulfilled, that sort of thing, as well as some rules, including the rules for the returning Whirlwind.
Absolutely. And those of you with eagle eyes may have spotted there is
Sto
one Ultramarine
notando.
There we go.
preview.
Ultramarine fans,
We
fear
are
not, we've got you.
contractually obligated to include at least one Ultramarine Space Marine in every preview, and you can see him there, about to be crushed under the uncompromising
Da
wheels
contratto siamo
of,
obbligati
the Iron
a
Warriors.
inserire
not dead yet,
almeno un
he is.
ultramarine. Certo.
Perfect. So, that was great. Loads of stuff for the Horus Heresy. I'm going to quickly dive into the questions and see where we are at. Right, so we've got, will the Custodes be playable in Warhammer 40,000? That's from Blood of Dead. Well, you've
I
covered
think
that one
we've
already.
sort of covered that one.
Loads of those
Yes.
models will be, and it's really worth saying again, if it's got a analogous unit in Warhammer 40,000, by all means use it if it suits you.
Ok, bene o male quello che hanno, che stavamo già dicendo, dicevo, hanno chiesto appunto, saranno utilizzabili nel 40.000, dice se effettivamente questo kit ha un'unità analoga nel 40.000, sì, utilizzalo pure.
Yeah, there's no new system of silence in this particular wave of releases,
But
there's
they are very
absolutely,
much catered for.
yeah, there's absolutely no reason that we wouldn't in the future, and they're
Per
absolutely
carità non c'era letteralmente bisogno di dirlo, cioè sono modelli, insomma.
I probably could have done, but I've forgotten because it's been quite a long preview. I think
How
you
many
get
heads for
how many bear
Si
heads?
chiamava
I think you get
Turbinis
enough to
ai
do
tempi
all
della
of the
terza
models.
edizione,
I think you do, yeah. So if you want an
quando il
entire
team
squad
italiano
in
era
helmets, you can do it that way. If you
stato,
want an entire squad
era
in
stato
bear
costretto a dover
heads, you
trovare
can do it that way
nomi
as well, I
tradotti
think.
per tutti i veicoli,
but
però
make your buying
solamente
decision based on what I
negli
said
anni di
right now.
terza, dalla quarta in poi è
I
tornato a
had a
chiamarsi
question earlier on
lui.
that I actually got wrong.
Oh,
I
go
just wanted to revisit. So somebody asked if the Corsair unit was able to join, Huron's bodyguard was able to join another unit. I said it wasn't. It is.
Era una cosa che è durata solo in quell'edizione.
Sorry about that.
And the last question, this is from
Era stata proprio una questione di GV che ai tempi aveva richiesto ai vari team localizzati di trovare dei nomi.
So I don't know which tank you meant, but the answer is yes. The Coronis Grav Carrier,
Poi però appunto dalla quarta hanno detto no, ripristiniamo i nomi propri effettivi dei veicoli.
The scale of the thing is quite fun, isn't it?
Esatto, pure,
try not to scrape the metalwork against each other. So I'm going to put them so they're sort of end to end. You can get a sense of how big they are if we get the camera on those.
Fa ridere perché poi tipo il Land Raider ai tempi si chiama, l'avevano deciso di tradurre testudo, e a tutti gli effetti se voi leggete l'11° romanzo dell'eresia, Angeli Caduti, e lì ci sono i testudo, che però non sono i Land Raider, sono dei testudo, sono un veicolo a parte, che semplicemente caso vuole che si chiami così. Un teaser. Si torna tra le rovine di Cadia, eh?
Well, that was a tease, wasn't it?
Attenzione.
It could. All we know is that
Iron Warriors abbinati a un simbolo centrale di Cadia. Il racconto a tutti gli effetti buttava la roba su roba di Occhio del Terrore, roba vicina, insomma. Sì, sapeva per carità che erano Warriors, erano palesi che dovessero esserci, anche lì da racconti del calendario dell'avvento, però. Quindi presumo possa essere il terzo libro di fine edizione.
All weekend, and as soon as we're done here, we're going to throw back to the team out there who will be commentating on fantastic games of Warhammer 40,000, I believe. So jump on board and have a look at what's going on there by all means. Really what remains, I guess, is to say thanks to everybody who's made this work. Yeah. We've got a team of people who've operated all the cameras and all the streaming equipment and covered off your questions. Thank you to all of you. Eddie, thank you for keeping me company and making this work.
All right, Adam. I didn't have plans tonight.
Il Turabo che rimonta Cadia mi farebbe molto ridere. Sarebbe l'ennesimo smacco. Caotici che rimontano pianeti. Prima Caliban.
I think we're planning to do something from Adepticon in
Very excited about that. So until then, thank you all so much for joining us. This has been
War, grazie mille per questo seguito.
Bye bye.
Un benvenuto. No, cosa ho fatto? Perché l'ho finito. Buonasera War, buonasera e un doppio benvenuto per il tuo primo messaggio nella chat. Disturbo se chiedo info sul mondo di Warhammer? No, allora, di per sé no. L'unica cosa è che adesso abbiamo un piccolo stacco perché abbiamo finito di guardare le anteprime. Io faccio una pausetta di una decina di minuti e poi torno con l'altra live in cui giochiamo insieme l'alfa di Dark Heresy in italiano. Quindi se vuoi magari aspettare un attimino sti 10 minuti, io poi torno, faccio la reintroduzione e quant'altro, però poi nel caso tu abbia curiosità che c'è magari qualche informazione fondamentale che ti interessa, di cui hai bisogno, molto volentieri. Se posso aiutarti e orientarti in qualche modo mi fa molto piacere. Ottimo, ottimo. Allora, ragazzi, esatto, pausa bagno, insomma, no, non ho bisogno, però insomma, pausa un attimino, giusto per fare lo stacco di live, raga. Bene, dai, poi magari facciamo, se ci sarà qualcosina da guardare su Warhammer Community, magari poi ne discutiamo un'altra volta, magari il prossimo venerdì, insomma, magari facciamo qualche ulteriore commento un po' più a freddo, però bene, 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 dai, belle cose. Detto, stacco un attimino, ritorniamo alle 22 con Dark Heresy e ci giochiamo quest'alfa. Vi reintrodurrò un pochettino delle cose e allora ci vediamo tra poco, cari. Grazie mille per la compagnia in queste anteprime, che è sempre un piacere commentare e seguire insieme. Grazie mille ovviamente anche per tutti i doni arrivati in questa live. Ci vediamo allora tra pochissimo. Grazie ancora, a tra poco.